So I'm a former atheist, now a Christian, and I teach classics in university, which means that my educational background is in Greek and Latin and in the Greco-Roman world in which the Gospel of John was written, but I'm not a Bible scholar. I also co-host a podcast called The Divide with a good friend of mine who's an atheist, a former Christian, where we interview people, especially the non-believing, about the deeper issues that tend to divide us. As you can imagine, I hear from many skeptics who dismiss the claims of the Bible, and I think it's understandable for a person living today, reading an ancient book, 2,000 years old, to have a reasonable skepticism about its claims, especially since those claims are so extraordinary. The problem is that many of the critics haven't, so to speak, watched the movie, or at least they haven't watched it very carefully. Now, I'm under no delusion that I'm going to be able to persuade a skeptic to believe the Gospel of John, but I do hope to at least dispel some of the more ridiculous assertions that critics and skeptics make about the Gospels anyway. So for that reason, I'd like to approach this at two levels. First, I'd like to take up an episode within the Gospel of John and explain it briefly on its own terms. And then at the secondary level, I'll try to defend why I think a person today can still take that story seriously. Aristotle wisely taught the world that we should study an object in accordance with its nature. So if we think, for example, of gravity, gravity isn't aiming at some kind of emotion or feeling, and so it doesn't make sense for physicists to study our emotions and feelings about gravity. So the Gospel of John is a piece of ancient Greek literature. That's what it is, and so we have to study it that way. It's more like the biographies of Xenophon and Plutarch than it is, say, a love poem by Sappho. And since it has such a robust theological agenda, and it's set in the context of first century Palestine, a Jewish context, then we also need to see how it shares many characteristics with the Hebrew Bible. I'll try to respond to thoughtful comments, and I certainly hope that this series is thought-provoking.